Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to USEFP's short videos part of our free online GRE course. These videos will help you prepare for GRE, which is an important part of graduate level admissions in most universities in the United States and for the Fulbright Scholarship Program. This session is for GRE Verbal and this is video number 1 of 12 in this series. My name is Amna Mahmood and I will be the instructor for the 12 videos in this series. I'm a Fulbright scholar and I've been affiliated with the USAFB since 2017. I hope everyone is taking good care of themselves. As we collectively deal with the global pandemic, we have adjusted the nature of our services and moved our sessions online. Since we cannot hold our sessions in person anymore due to the health advisory, you can use this time productively and benefit from these video sessions. You can virtually attend many other workshops and online sessions, and you can find more information on our scheduled sessions and how to access them on our Facebook and Instagram pages under the handles of USEF Pakistan or ED USA Pakistan, and they're all free of cost to attend. Okay, so to kick us off, let's look at the outline of this session. We'll start with the GRE format, and when I say the GRE format, I'm talking about the general GRE format, which will also include the quantitative analysis section. We'll then talk about what the test sessions look like. Then we'll deep dive and talk specifically about the verbal scoring and the verbal format. And finally, I conclude by sharing the list of the remaining videos in this series and what you should expect in each video. Let's look at the GRE format. The GRE test is approximately 3 hours 45 minutes and it includes 3 different components. The analytical writing component includes 2 essay tasks. So you have the issue essay and you'll have 30 minutes to complete it, and you'll have the argumentative essay and you'll similarly have 30 minutes to complete that as well. The verbal component or the English component is 2 sections of 30 minutes each, and you'll have to solve 20 questions per section, right? So if you want to do a quick estimation of how much time you have per question, so that's approximately 1.5 minutes per question. And when we talk about this in detail later on, you will have to think about, like maybe allocating more time for the harder questions and solving the easier questions in less time than the average that we are estimating of 1.5 minutes per question. The quant or the maths component includes 2 sections of 35 minutes each, and each section here as well has 20 questions per section. So again, if you want to do a quick estimation of how much time you have for each question, that's around like less than 2 minutes. You will also have a 7th section, which is your unidentified / unscored section, or an identified research section. And this section is going to be either 30 minutes or 35 minutes, depending on whether it's the verbal section or the quant section. You will not be asked to write an essay in this, in this section. In terms of thinking about the order of these different components, so the analytical writing section will always come first. So you'll always be asked to do the issue task first and then the argumentative task. The verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and unidentified / unscored section may appear in any order. Therefore, you should treat each section as if it counts towards your score, right? The identified research section, which is not scored, can be included in place of the unscored / unidentified section. The research section will always appear at the end of the test. So let's talk a bit now about what to expect when you're sitting through the GRE test in the actual testing center. Okay. So apart from the 3 hour 45 minutes assigned to the test, there is an option to take a 10 minutes break. You can choose not to take the break if that's how you feel, but I would personally recommend that 4 hours of being mentally active can be very taxing and exhausting. So do take that 10 minutes break. Take some refreshments with you to the testing center. they will have a locker or some space assigned to you where you can keep your stuff, and if there's something that you have to eat, you can use the break and munch on something to keep your energy going for the rest of the test. The second thing to keep in mind during the test is that you will not be allowed to take anything from outside inside the testing center. So that includes no paper and stationery, right? If there's some work that you need to do, there's some rough work that you need to do on paper, the test administrator is going to give you scratch papers to do your rough work, and he or she will also give you stationery, right? If during the test you run out of scratch paper, you raise your hand, the test administrator is going to replace the scratch paper for you. At the end of the test, you will have to return all the stationery and the scratch paper, any material that you still have, back to the test administrator. The third thing to keep in mind is that there is, within a section, you can skip questions and return to the skipped questions if time permits. And GRE helps you in this regard by giving you a review sheet at the end of every section, which lets you see which questions you have skipped, and you can easily go back to those questions. We'll see in a bit what that review sheet looks like. But if, for example, you're in a position where, let's say, you're working on this section, and you've gone through it, you've looked at every question, and you've done the best you could during that section, and you realize that you have a couple of minutes to spare, so you decide to skip the section and move on to the next section, right? So although you can move to the next section if there's some time remaining on the current section, but what you can't do once you skip a section is return to the previous section, right? So that time is not going to be allocated to the new section. So this is something to keep in mind. To repeat, you can skip question within a section, but you can't return to a skipped section if you've moved on to the second section. The fourth thing to keep in mind is that if you need to leave your seat at any time other than the break, then you have to raise your hand. The test administrator is going to come to you, and he or she will allow you to take the break. But the important thing to keep in mind is any irregular breaks that are not designated or not allowed during the time that you're taking the test, the timing of the section is not going to stop for that, right? So you can take that break, but the time of the section is going to continue to tick away. The fifth thing to keep in mind is that, and this is especially for just the quantitative reasoning section, so there is an on-screen calculator that you can use. The calculator does very basic functions. For example, you can do addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. You can parenthesize, take square roots of, you can add decimal and change signs of a number. Like if you want to do a positive or negative sign to a number, you can do that. You can also store and recall answers for future use, but that's about it, right? It doesn't let you do any fancy calculations. There is also an option to show or hide the on-screen calculator. For example, you might feel that you've practiced so much that the calculator, you can easily do the addition, subtraction, all other features which the calculator allows you to do mentally, and you don't need it. So you have the option of hiding the calculator so it doesn't distract you. Lastly, the test interface also has a clock on the screen, and this clock helps you keep track of time. There's also an option to hide the clock. For example, if you're one of the students who feels intimidated by looking at the clock and the time ticking away, you have the option of hiding the clock, so it doesn't bother you as you're attempting the paper. But I think like 5 minutes before the sections is about to conclude, the clock appears, and then you can't hide it, right? And that's just like one way of just putting it out on your radar that the section is close to finishing. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. An important thing to keep in mind whenever you're training for any test is to understand how the test is graded, right? So for GRE, the verbal reasoning and the quantitative reasoning measures are section level adaptive, and this is something very important to keep in mind. To give you an example, what this means, um, imagine the first section that you are given is a verbal section, right? And generally what happens is that first sections have equal number of easy, medium, hard questions. Imagine that you've got everything right, okay? So the second verbal section that you will see, you can expect that the test is going to pose more difficult questions to you, because the test has sort of assessed you and sort of understood that you are a better than average candidate, and it is giving you an opportunity to score higher, right? So although easy, medium, hard questions have the same raw score, so if you get one question right, you get a raw score of 1, but the level of difficulty has different weightage, right? So difficult questions have a higher weightage, and that allows you to score higher. So if you have to think about it in a different way, so imagine that you didn't do very well in the first verbal section, okay? So the second verbal section that you can expect to see, you will probably be given easier questions to solve, okay? And that's one way that the test is trying to support you and help you complete the test by giving you questions that it thinks you will be easily able to solve. For the analytical writing section, each essay receives a score from at least one trained human rater and an e-rater, which is a computerized software which ETS has developed to mark these tests, mark the essays. And the average of the two scores is then used as the final score. If, for example, the score which the human rater has given you and the e-rater has given you, there's a massive discrepancy, then a second human rater is going to review your test and rate the test, right? And the final scores are going to be the average of the two human rater scores. Another very important thing to keep in mind is that there's no negative grading in GRE, right? So it is worth your while that you try to attempt every question, that even if you do not know how to solve the question, you should make your best guess possible. A question which almost all the students that I've met ask me is, what is a good GRE score, right? And my answer always is, there is no good GRE score, right? A good score is going to be different for different people. It should be whatever score that you're aiming to achieve in the test should be the score that is going to get you into the university and the program that you want to get into, right? And this is going to be different for different people. Somebody who is preparing for an engineering, who's trying to apply for an engineering school, the quant and the verbal scores are going to look very different from somebody who wants to apply for, let's say, an English literature program, right? So that's some work that you need to do on the side and try to understand what is a GRE score, or what GRE score you should benchmark, which will allow you to get into your desired program. And this information you're going to find in on universities' websites. So, and this is work that you need to do by yourself and try to identify what the good score is going to look like for you. The verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning scores are on a scale of 130 to 170, and they have a corresponding percentile ranks. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you what this is going to look like. But, you know, like 130 does not mean, when you get 130, it doesn't mean you should do 130 divided by 170 and say, oh, you have a score of 76%. That's not how it works. In the following slide, I'm going to show you how these different scores are aligned with different percentile ranks. And the percentile also changes changes over time, right? So the percentile scores are not fixed, because as you will learn in your quant section, percentile tells you how well you performed based on everybody else who took the test during a given period of time, okay? The analytical writing scores are on the 0 to 6 scales, and similarly they are also, you'll also receive the percentile ranks of these scales as well, right? And the analytical writing is usually scored at a half point. So for example, you know, the scores are, let's say, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and so on. One thing which is very good about GRE is that the scores are valid for 5 years, right? So what this tells you as a candidate is to really put in the effort and the practice to get you the score that you want, because once you've got the score, you will have 5 years to, apply at a time that works best for you. Another option which ETS allows you is that it gives you the option to send your best scores, right? So if you've taken the GRE multiple times, you have the option of sending your best scores to the universities that you've applied to. This is an example of a scale score, and this is a snapshot that I took from the ETS website, I think a couple of years ago. So the numbers themselves might not be very accurate, but just to drive the point here. So for example, if you want to look at a scale score of 159, so that is 82 percentile in verbal reasoning and 73 percentile in quantitative reasoning. And what this really tells you is, for example, in verbal reasoning, that, with a raw score of 159, you've done better than 82% of the people who took the test around the same time period you took the test, right? Similarly, at 159 raw score, you did better than 73% of the people who took the test in the same time period that you took the test, okay? And just to give you another example, if you look at a raw score of 136, for verbal reasoning, it means that you did better than 4% of the people who took the test around the same period of time. And for quantitative reasoning, it means you did better than 2% of the people who took the test around the same period of time. So we've been talking about the general GRE format and the test structure. So let's now look at the GRE verbal format. So as already discussed, there are two components to the verbal section. So you have the analytical writing and the verbal reasoning. The analytical writing has two essay tasks, the issue task and the argument task. The verbal reasoning has three different question types. Right? So you have the text completion, the sentence equivalence, and the reading comprehensions. And we'll talk about all these different question types and the different essay tasks in detail in the following video. What does analytical writing assess? So the analytical writing section tests your critical thinking and analytical writing skills. It assesses your ability to articulate and support complex ideas, construct and evaluate arguments, and sustain a focused and coherent discussion. It does not assess specific content knowledge, right? So the essay prompts that you are going to see, although they might talk about a more technical field, they might talk about, for example, education or science or climate change, but it doesn't require you to have specific knowledge. What it really is checking is your ability to critically analyze it and how well you're able to convey what you're thinking coherently in your writing. What does verbal reasoning assess? It assesses your ability to analyze and evaluate written material and synthesize information obtained from it. It assesses your ability to analyze relationships among component parts of sentences and recognize relationships among words and concepts. All of this is going to become more clear when we start looking at these questions and solving them in the following videos. In both verbal reasoning sections on the GRE, you can expect half of the questions to be reading comprehensions and half to be text completion and sentence equivalence. Okay, so for example, in a 20-question verbal section, maybe 9 to 11 questions can be on the reading comprehensions, and the remaining questions are going to be on text completion and sentence equivalence. Some tips to keep in mind when you're attempting the GRE test: complete the easy problems first. As we've already discussed, in a section you can expect to see easy, medium, hard questions, but they will not appear in this order. You can, for example, have a hard question first, followed by a medium, a second medium, and then an easy problem. Through practice, you'll be identify the easier questions and the questions you're able to do fast. And it is worth your while to go through these questions first and then come back to the difficult questions afterwards. Do make use of the scratch paper for rough work. What this allows you to do is in the event, let's say, that you're not able to complete a question, when you come back to the same question, at least you will have something written and you don't have to start from the beginning. So this saves you time. Use the mark button. I will show you on the next slide what the mark button looks like. Timing is super important, so do keep track of the clock ticking away. Even if you've hidden it, just because it's hidden, it doesn't mean it's not there. So please be very mindful of the timing. Lastly, to reiterate, GRE is section adaptable, so you really need to be vigilant in the first section. The following section will adapt the questions to your skill level in the first section. This is a snapshot of the page that you will see at the end of each section. If you look at the table, it gives you the 20 questions and it gives you the status of each question and whether a question has been marked or it's unmarked. Where at the top where you have return and go to questions, in the question page, you will have an option to mark a question. So what that allows you to do is, for example, if you're very close to solving a question, or if you've solved a question but you're not really sure, you want to double check that question, you can mark it for review afterwards. So at the conclusion of a section where you have this table, you can quickly look at all the questions that you've marked. And for example, for question 3, if you want to go back and complete the question, it could be that there are 3 blanks and you've only solved 2. You can click on question 3 and it's going to take you directly to the question. Similarly, for question 7, although you've answered it, just the fact that you've marked it, you're probably telling yourself that you want to double check it afterwards if time permits. So when you come back to this page, you can click on 7 and it's going to take you directly to the question 7, and you can double check your work and see whether you're 100% comfortable with the answer that you've selected or whether you want to change it. This is the format for follow-up videos. As you can see, we have text completion, sentence equivalence, reading comprehension, and analytical writing. And in each of these videos, we will go deeper into the different tips and strategies that we can use. We'll practice through examples, and we'll also try to build vocabulary along the way. Thank you for watching. I hope this session proved to be useful for you. Please remember to check out our social media and email updates for more sessions like these. Remember to take necessary health precautions to protect yourself and the wider community. To wrap up, I'm going to play a short summary video of the main takeaways in these presentations. Goodbye and see you in the next session.